Welcome to day 3 of the quarantine.
Welcome, Pirate Nation. We are masking how much we miss you right now. Welcome back to Brunswick High Economics. You've got Mr. Sicoli and myself here, and we are missing you guys and ready to do some personal finance. The question is, are y'all ready? All right, well, we're going to give Sicoli, he's about to pass out over here, so we're going to let him take his mask off. His glasses are foggy, so we're going to let him have just a moment to recover. Here is your pirate prep for the day, so let's take a look at this. A positive balance of trade exists when A, a country's exports exceed its imports, B, a country's imports exceed its exports, the value of a country's exports is equal to the value of its imports, or D, countries have similar population rates and per capita GDP. We'll give you just a second to think about that. All right, Pirate Nation, and your answer was, drum roll, we're waiting to hear from you, A, B, C, or D. Sicoli.
Y'all are right, it is A. Good job, guys.
Good job.
100% accuracy.
Absolutely A. Oh, that's what we should.
Yeah, let's do quick.
It's all right. All right, so we are picking up today with some lessons on personal finance. We're going to make it rain up in here in the econ class.
All 500s.
All 500s, because we are that kind of teacher. So we're looking today, starting at personal finance, which is probably the most important for you. Because when you walk out of here, you may never talk again about exports or imports or monetary policy. Although if you're paying attention right now in the news, monetary policy is very important. But every single day, your personal finances will affect you as you spend and you save money. So today we're going to start off with our first lesson on banks.
That's on, keep going. When we look at these banks, we usually use two main types as adults. There's commercial banks, there's credit unions. The difference between these two is the profit. If you look at a commercial bank, think Bank of America or Wells Fargo, Citibank, their objective is to make money off of you. If you look at a credit union like Marshland Credit Union or Navy Federal, their objective is to help out their members. So Ms. Greiner and I here are both eligible for Marshland Credit Unions, credit union
Correct.
for teachers. And so because they're not trying to make a profit off of us, generally that's where you're going to find the cheapest interest rates. To put it in perspective, when my wife and I bought our house, the interest rate offered by Bank of America was about 3.5%, whereas at Marshland Credit Union it was like 3.25. The difference there, while it might not seem like a lot, is about $20,000 or $30,000 over the course of the loan, so significantly cheaper.
Significantly cheaper. Credit unions are a great alternative if you are borrowing money, if you need. They offer checking accounts. They offer a lot of different services like a commercial bank, just maybe not quite as many. But wherever you are affiliated with, if they have where you're working, if they have an affiliation with a credit union, that is one of your best bets to start establishing a financial relationship. So, got your notes up here.
All right, so when you're looking at different things offered by, did you already go on to the next one?
Oh, yeah.
So when you're looking at different things offered by most average banks, most banks will give you 2 free checkings, 2 free savings, at least while you're a student. If they're trying to charge you for your bank account, I would try to find a different bank.
Absolutely.
All right, so a couple things that usually a bank will offer. Our direct deposit, most of you that work have that through your business. A certificate of deposit, think about a government bond, right? It's this, but in a private way. So it's essentially an IOU from the bank where you give them a certain amount of money for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and in return you get interest over time. It's a safe, long-term investment, usually good for if you're saving up for like a kid's college fund, because you're going to get a little bit more interest than you would from just putting it in your savings account.
And you can buy CDs as short as 90 days, 6 months, 1 year. It's totally how long you want to tie up your money. With interest rates as low as they are right now, the interest rates on CDs will be almost nil. They'll be almost nothing. So definitely a good investment for an elderly person, for a younger person looking to grow their money. Probably not as great of investment, but certainly offered by local banks and credit unions as well.
And one last thing, I can't emphasize enough the importance of online banking, right? So I would recommend that if you have an account yourself to look at it weekly, or if you have a joint account with somebody else to do it even more often than that. My wife and I, we do it every Sunday. And this Sunday, or yesterday, whenever we did it, we noticed that there were 2 charges on our account from last Wednesday from Lakeland, Florida, which I've never been to before. It was at a gas station there, but somebody got a hold of our debit card information. And if we hadn't checked it, like if we would have waited another week, we might have never seen it. And so keeping track of that online banking is a really, really useful tool that can save you a lot of money. because these people are hoping that you don't notice these transactions,
Absolutely.
right? So the longer you wait, like even for my wife and I, like if we're sharing an account and I see a charge on Amazon, I'm just going to assume that it's her unless we talk about it.
Absolutely. Most of your banks now offer an app that is handy dandy for you to log into on a daily basis, checking exactly what Sicoli's talking about. I know we had a savings account that kept getting dinged for $6 a month that shouldn't have. And had we not logged in and looked at that, we would have missed that. And $6 is a Starbucks, right, Sicoli?
$6 is a Starbucks.
$6 is a Starbucks.
Or a pack of toilet paper.
Or a pack of toilet paper. Good point. If you can find it.
If you can find it.
Absolutely. With banks, absolutely check out your checking account, your savings account functions. A lot of times when you open a checking or a savings, a bank is going to want a minimum amount to open it, usually $50 or $100, depending on the institution. But again, you can find those, both of those types of accounts at most all financial institutions will have those available for you. If you are under 18, you will have to have someone that is 18 or older to be on your account with you. And so I know I have both of my kids on my account, so I can, obviously they like it, so I can transfer them money all the time. How does that work? They never transfer money to me. It just seems to go out.
Whenever you get older, they will eventually.
Maybe they'll take care of me. So absolutely.
Once you're some of the power.
Absolutely.
And if you look at most banks, they'll offer you 2 checkings, 2 savings. What I would recommend for the checking, the way that my wife and I do it, we've got debit cards for both. One of them is just a day-to-day account. That's where we make our purchases for groceries or going on a hot date to the movies. And the other one is just for bills. That's where we have our direct withdrawals just come out of that account just for bills. So we know on the 1st, well, that's my car loan. On the 5th, that's our student loans. On the 15th, that's our mortgage payment. And so we put all of that money there day 1 of the month. That way we know that all of our bills are coming directly out of there. Because of that, we never miss a payment as long as all that money's there day 1. So I would recommend kind of splitting in that way, having one that you use for your day-to-day purchases and one that's more for bills. But that's
Absolutely.
just me.
Yeah, there's lots of ways you do it, no right or no wrong. For those of you that don't know, this is what a check actually looks like. I know they're kind of archaic, but that is a check. Occasionally, I don't write many checks, but occasionally you will have to write a check somewhere along the way. So when you guys get back with us after spring break, we will do some practice writing checks and working through a checking account, what that looks like.
And so a debit card is just a digital form of these checks. Whenever you swipe your card, it's the same thing as making a digital imprint of a check, right? And you can use that ATM to take money out. However, something that people don't really talk about a lot is the transaction fees that go with it. So if you use an ATM that doesn't belong with your bank, there's usually going to be a $4 or $5 fine. The way that I found that out whenever I was a teenager is 9 years ago when I first started dating Mrs. Sicoli. We went on a date to the bowling alley, to the strike zone. But I was wearing flip-flops, which, as most of you know, is not kosher in a bowling alley. They have a little vending machine there selling socks for $4. Well, I also didn't have any cash. I was not well prepared. I'm surprised my wife stayed with me. But I used the ATM there. I took out $20. They also charged me a $5 fine.
Yes, they did.
So that one pair of socks was $9 for me. So always use an ATM that belongs to your bank.
And that's a monopoly on socks, too, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we want to throw
A
that
sockopoly.
Sockopoly. I like it.
Sounds like my last name.
Grady's back with us.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Power
She's
Nation?
still here. She's
I'm just
still
eating my
here.
quarantine food.
She's
for the
still
day.
here.
We're still here.
She's almost out of her snacks already.
I know. Gonna gain like 10 pounds. Don't
As long as
judge.
she got toilet paper, she can trade.
I got some
That's
TV.
called
I
bartering.
will sell it for $20.
Now, there is a difference between an ATM card and a debit card. So ATM cards only allow you to pull cash out at a financial institution, where a debit card, you can go get
That
your
still
cash.
exists?
They do still exist.
Who would get one of
I
those?
have no idea.
Get a debit
I
card,
don't
don't
even
get
know
an
that.
ATM
Yeah,
card.
debit card. You can get cash out. You can use it for purchases. You can purchase online. This is actually a brand new. Yes, I'm covering my number up for you Amazon freaks. out there.
47447500829.
I think they all start that way.
They all start that way.
They all start that way. But this is a absolutely brand new card I just got in the mail like maybe last week because I received an email from my bank, which is Bank of America. No endorsements there, but that's where it's from. That my card had been potentially compromised somewhere, so they sent a new card in, which meant I had to sit down and go through every place that has a recurring charge, like say my Spotify account. Actually, my AT&T and my Verizon are connected to my debit card, so I had to sit back. I have the automatic that comes out charges to my debit card, not straight to my checking account. So I had to sit down and call all of those places or go online and change all of the cards on all of that.
And
So-
that's an added benefit of using the 2 different checking accounts, one for just the bills, because I would say that my wife and mine debit card maybe gets, the information gets taken maybe twice a year. And the debit card that we don't use that's just for bills is never the one that gets hacked. So I was on the phone all weekend with the Bank of America guy, and he said that a lot of it is card skimmers these days at gas stations. So a good rule of thumb, if you're buying gas with a debit card, is to go inside and use the debit card reader in there, because it's a lot harder to compromise than the ones at the gas pump.
Or if you don't go inside, just take a really good look at that pump, and you can see if there's that little plastic insert for a skimmer. Kind of pull on it, tug on it. If it comes out, then that's a skimmer. So you want to be careful with that. Also, another place skimmers are really used are standalone ATM machines. Like there is one right across the street over here in the Big Lots parking lot that's a Bank of America standalone that's not attached to a bank, is what I mean. And those tend to get compromised more so than ATMs at actual banks. A little less security, I guess, there. So be careful with that. All right, so debit cards, they can be lost, they can be stolen, all this kind of stuff we're talking about here on the PowerPoint. All right, so different types of financial institutions. Commercial banks, that's like these banks around here that you are very familiar with, SunTrust or United Community or Bank of America, that are brick and mortar banks that you can have a drive-through, you can go inside, do your transactions there, take care of business there. They do a little bit of everything. They will give you mortgages, which is a loan for a
house.
You can get car loans, you can purchase CDs, you can get traveler's checks. Did you know those are still out there?
I did not know.
You don't need to know those. Checking accounts, savings accounts, safety deposit boxes where you can store your valuables very, very safely in their vault. Lots of different options there on commercial banks. Now, internet banks are kind of a new thing popping up where you don't actually go to a bank, but it's all done online. Do you do any of that?
No, it's still kind of sketchy to me. I'm going to let them be around for a little bit longer.
Check into it. But they are available. There are options out there. And, of course, we've already talked a lot about credit unions. You guys are eligible until graduation at least to open up an account over at Marshland because you are a student. So you have that eligibility there with the credit union.
And we talked about the advantages of credit unions with lower interest rates. Advantages of commercial banks is they're a lot more prevalent. So if I were to go to Atlanta, I've got accounts at Marshland and at Bank of America. If I were to go to Atlanta, I probably wouldn't be able to find a Marshland ATM. But you could go to any big city in our country and find an ATM for Bank of America.
This actually just happened to me. I went on a spontaneous shopping trip to Jacksonville during Christmas shopping. And Kendall had used my debit card for something and not put it back in my wallet. And so I got to Jacksonville and I had, because I had like $20 on me. And I don't use credit cards.
I bet you were furious.
Well, I was not happy, but we got past it and I knew where there was a Bank of America near the airport exit. And so we just wheeled in there. I went in, I told the lady, I said, I'm sorry I don't have my debit card, which is why I'm here. Gave her my ID, was able to withdraw some cash and go upon my merry way, and probably spent less money because I used cash that day.
Yeah.
Possibly. All right. Investment banks. All right. So investment banks are not banks that you necessarily go to for your everyday expenses. They're going to be more where you do investments, like purchasing stocks and bonds. A few names that come to mind of investment banks are places like Edward Jones or A.G. Edwards or Merrill Lynch, where you would actually go and sit down and meet with a stockbroker. You could buy stocks, bonds, mutual funds, securities there. You can probably buy CDs. They offer money market accounts. A money market is a fancy checking account that requires you to have a much larger balance, probably usually about $2,500 or $5,000, but they pay a much higher rate of interest than your average checking account. So great option if you're just wanting to stash some money away, maybe an emergency fund, and hang that out there.
All right, so we're gonna have a whole section on insurance companies, but of course anything can be insured, from your phones to your cars to your bodies to your houses. And insurance is really just a bet that you're taking, right? You're taking a bet and you're hoping you lose. So my wife and I spend money on insurance for our cars each month, but hopefully we never have to use it. All right, but we're going to look at a later section at all the different insurance companies that we have. Mortgages, again, is a loan for your home. And the first place that you would need to look for these things are credit unions. Again, that loan that they offered us at Bank of America, even though our credit's excellent, was still at a much, much higher rate than we found at that credit union.
Absolutely.
And so the title loans are the ones that you're wanting to avoid at all costs.
Stay
right?
away.
They're gonna charge you incredibly high interest rates, and if you don't pay back these loans, they compound very, very quickly. So these are the ones. Like, I myself would rather beg on the side of a street than go to a title loan.
And if you don't, we might better explain what a title loan is. If you own your car outright, you get a title to the car, like a deed to it, a piece of paper that says you own this vehicle free and clear. The bank doesn't. And so if you get hard up for money, a lot of people will use these title loans or what's called payday lenders, and go give them that loan. Like if this is the title to my car, I give it to the title lender, and in return he would give me some cash to get me through to payday. But then that loan has to be paid back plus interest in order for me to get my title back. The problem is that the interest is crazy high. So if you have done the other stuff like budgeting and handling your money well, you will never need to visit one of these places.
And so think about it this way, right? If you're in desperate enough situation where you've got to go to a title pawn, like think of like Lending Bear down the street from us, or what's the other one?
Title pawn.
Yeah, so you give them the title of your vehicle. They give you $500 to, for medical bills, whatever. Well, that's going to be the weekend, or that's going to be the week that your car breaks down, or that somebody else in your family member gets sick, or something happens where you're going to need a lot of money, and then what are you going to do, right? You're already strapped for cash, and you're dealing with even worse circumstances. And that's how people lose their vehicles. They kind of prey on people that are lower income because they know they're desperate.
Yeah, so not only then have you lost income and you're behind in bills, but now you've lost your vehicle to get you to work to make money. So stay away from those.